Just filming this quick channel update to let everyone know that I am like everything that's happened over the last few months has basically been I think I made for 6 months straight almost a video every day, which was an interesting journey, and I learned a lot in the process. And I realized, it's actually really fun to put out content without the pressure of will it get views, will it perform? Do I have to spend 20 to 30 hours, researching guests, preparing questions, working on the thumbnail and title and so on. And I realized I should really go back to my roots, from 3 years ago, where it was like I was more focused on enjoying the process, talking to interesting people, sharing their stories, and having a genuine conversation. And I wasn't so worried about, thumbnail, title, will the video perform, and so on. And I realized by slowly going back to my roots, because I went back to League of Legends in on May 22nd, and just within 2 months, I learned a lot about the game. I connected with coaches and players. I formed an amateur team that I've been practicing on regularly. I interviewed a player who went from silver to masters in 2 months, which is a journey that often takes people like multiple years or they never make it at all, like me. I've never made it, and I've had my league account since 2010, right? I don't think I've played more than maybe 4 or 5 thousand games, so I've probably only played a total of maybe 4 years actively or 5 years actively in those 16 years of having my account. Because League is one of those games you often will take breaks from and come back. But as you know, as people like to say with most MOBAs, it's like, oh, you don't quit temporarily or you never quit permanently. You'll always come back, whether it's Dota or League or whatever it might be. Because it is the kind of game that really has an insane level of depth. As I discuss with coaches and I analyze the game and realize it's an infinite well, right? Just like mastering any other skill, any other sport, right? If you want to become an excellent football analyst or an excellent volleyball analyst or tennis or whatever, you can go so deep into that game, right? So, in any case, I'm just going to be posting more content. It's going to be fairly low friction. Unfortunately, I will probably disappoint some of my subscribers who signed on because of the entrepreneurship aspect of things. Although, interestingly enough, one of my recent interviews is with a League player who's been in a Discord with me for like 3 years, the Vigar V2 server. He hit Diamond, he talked about his League journey, and he also launched an app recently, right? And he has a code for people to get a discount that's at the bottom of the video. I haven't made it public yet. But it's interesting to consider that all of this is just because I met him in League, and yet he started a business 3 years later, and he actually watched some of my podcast episodes 3 years ago, and in some ways, there was a connection there. There was an inspiration there, and it's just fascinating to realize that all of these little interactions can change the course of people's lives, like the butterfly effect. So I'll also make a community post detailing this, but the simple summary is I'm going to be posting more content. It's going to be more league related. I'm going back to my roots. It's going to just be all sorts of interesting things to do with league. And I realized if I had just stuck with the niche and done what I was passionate about, I would probably also have a bigger following today and I would be helping more people and I would be interacting with more interesting people. Because for me, the outcome of this podcast that is ideal is like, okay, great, it gets monetized and I make some ad revenue. Sure, that's a nice outcome, but like, it's not necessary, right? I think the bigger positive outcome would be that I connect with interesting people, they see the videos, they reach out to me, we have interesting conversations, it snowballs from there. And basically, my life is overall more interesting. I'm meeting more enjoyable people to talk to who have insights that I can learn from, whether it's about league, life, entrepreneurship, or ADHD and autism, because those have been prevalent topics that I've been covering as well. I have a therapy session coming up on September 9th. It's my first sort of counseling appointment with this person, this doctor, and I'll be bringing like a summary and of various things to discuss, some context for him. And funnily enough, this is like probably one of the most autistic things I could do, right? Which is just ironic. And I'll let him know, and we'll see if maybe he can diagnose me, or even if it's necessary. Because multiple autistic people I've talked to say you don't necessarily need to get a diagnosis, but it is good to understand the tendencies of your mind and the way that it works, so that you can adjust. You can see how things work, right? Like Dr. K had a really interesting um, short on ADHD about how people with ADHD are vulnerable to inspiration, which has both upsides and downsides. The upside means that they can be very productive on multiple different projects because when they get inspired, they can take action and they can get a lot done, right? Because you know what it's like to feel inspired. You get excited, you're motivated, your threshold to take action is lower because you have all of that energy. And your self-doubt and fear and concerns of like, should I be doing this? Is this the right thing to do? What will people think? And so on. All of that disappears when you're in that mode. And I've realized I have been operating in that mode more for the last few weeks. And so it's good to focus on continuing to live a life where I'm productive. So Dr. K also said in that video, like someone with ADHD who can overcome the downsides of their distractibility, because being vulnerable to inspiration also makes you very distractible. Like in this very video, I've talked about 6 different things easily, right? But I keep trying to focus my attention, bring myself back to the topic at hand, which is also part of why it's difficult for me to make eye contact with the camera, because when I lose eye contact is when I can think more deeply about things. And that's something one of the autistic people I interviewed talked about as well. But basically, it means that if I can overcome some of the downsides of ADHD, there are some upsides that I can take advantage of, whether it's the high energy or the ability to be impactful on multiple projects in sequence, parallel. And this makes sense. Like he talked about how people have their business, they have their job, they do all these projects. No wonder I have so many things on the go at once. It's inevitable because of the way that my mind works. Now I just have to, over time, invest in the right ones. The way he put it was like, one person might dig a well 100 units deep, and an ADHD person who has not necessarily worked with their deficiencies yet or not found ways around them might dig, 10 wells 5 units deep. And the problem with digging, 10 wells 5 units deep is that water is not 5 units deep. Maybe water is only at like 40 or 30 units, and you have to go deeper. And so with his analogy, he said, but an ADHD person who learns to use their mind well could maybe dig 5 wells 50 feet deep, right? And that could be better than one well 100 deep, depending. Now, Alex Hormozi does talk about how important focus is to entrepreneurship. So I am working on that. I am working on taking daily actions towards my projects that matter most, whether it's health, exercise, the bomb business, and so on. Oh yeah, and that's the other announcement to make. I launched a product on Amazon with a friend a few months ago. Our target market is going to be gamers, and it's specifically a herbal balm. So you apply it to your wrists, your hands, your joints, your muscles, right? And it just has a soothing, relieving effect. And I'm going to work on a video for today, if I can edit it. It's like a Lucian pentakill in the game, plus, me applying the balm afterwards. Because I think that would be an interesting kind of video. And I think the more I lean into the reality of our target avatar, which is gamers, right? I shouldn't be afraid to combine League plus business. I even recorded some League podcasts, and I'm thinking, why not make them part of the business, right? Why post them only on my personal channel or my podcast when they could be valuable as part of the business's branding to help support gamers? Because a lot of what we talked about in that podcast was about ADHD, distractibility, but also how to get good at something. The value of getting good at League, as well as, say, pro volleyball, how they're similar, right? And how if you get good at something early on in life, you won't regret it later. Even if you don't become a professional player, you don't have to become a professional League of Legends player for it to teach you skills like emotional regulation, teamwork, learning from your mistakes, taking responsibility. These are all things you would learn on a volleyball team or a football team in high school as well, if you were paying attention to them, right? If you had a good coach, or if you were able to notice the tendency to blame teammates or blame externals and then counteract it yourself and say, no, this is on me. Let me take responsibility. Let me do my drills. Let me practice what I need to practice, and have faith that I will improve over time. And it won't matter what the external world does. It won't matter if, a lot of people, they have to retire because they get an injury or things like this. But then the ones with the right mindsets, or I would say not right, but, better mindsets, tend to go on to do great things in other ways, right? They don't let the injury destroy their entire career by saying, oh, my entire identity was around being a pro football player. Now what am I going to do? It's like, hey, you can be a commenter, you can be a coach, you can do all sorts of things. If you love football, you'll find a solution, right? So I think a lot of people play League for the status. They're like, oh, I got to get to Diamond. I got to get this rank. I got to tell my friends I'm Masters. I got to feel this sense of accomplishment that I hit a rank. But I'm thinking, if I love the game intrinsically, it doesn't really matter what rank I am. It just matters that I enjoy the game, and I have conversations with people about the game, and I get deeper and deeper mastery about the game, and I help others with the passion of the game as well. And that's good enough, right? That's a fulfilling life. There's no reason to try to become a professional player or to try to earn a whole bunch of money from the game. If it's already a passion and I already enjoy it, that's good enough. I can get my money elsewhere, right? From the business, from a day job, from retirement investments and savings, whatever it might be. So it's perfectly fine. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to add me on Discord at Vamsi. and I'll put that in the description as well. And I'm just going to start launching more content. And I don't know what I'll do with the old Discord server for Ordinary Humans Extraordinary Choices. I might either convert it or keep it inactive for now and figure out some other way. Because like managing a community is a lot of work. I might combine it with the Killer Herbs, bomb business to make that one community for both the podcast and the business. That way I can just manage one set of people. Because it is, managing a community is a lot of work, I can tell. It takes a lot of effort to do what I do in terms of being active, welcoming people, um, offering them help, joining voice chats to talk with people and help them with things. So it's not something I can do to invest in multiple communities. I can really only do it with one or two communities at a time. And that's okay. It's good to know, right? I'm learning more about myself as we go. And I'm happy to hear from you guys on what's been going on with your life. And because some people have been following me for like 3 years. So it's like, okay, what have you been up to? What can we learn from each other, right? And if you ever want to be on the show, just shoot me a message. I'm happy to interview people, right? Like John recently just messaged me. We had an interview. He wasn't sure if he was an interesting enough person. And by the end of the episode, I could tell him confidently, you were one of the most interesting people I interviewed. So I'm glad we did this, right? All good. Take care, everyone.